Okay, so hi everybody. So I'm Iraklis, and I will give some job hunting tips from my, I would say, inspired from my personal life. Uh, it's not for boasting. Hopefully, you will get some tips out of it. And I'm not saying it's the perfect way to do the things or anything like that. But in any case, I've tried to gather things from what I've seen through my job hunting trip, but also from other colleagues, friends, and whatnot. So I've tried to gather whatever I know, let's say, in some slides. So just a few words about me to also realize a little bit my background, and maybe you also realize how the CV that I will share afterwards looks like that, and it's not for another role or whatever else. I've been studying software engineering since my studies. I then tried academia and I did a PhD in databases. Then I slowly moved out of research and academia. I first went into an R&D department at Oracle for 6 years, and currently I'm working remotely for Elastic in the industry. What this shows you behind the scenes, and that's another reason I'm showing it, is that for each of these positions, if I can say it like that, basically you need to pass through the job hunting process, right? So for both the PhD, well, okay, for Greece, the stuff about how to get into the university, it's a different story. But in any case, for studying abroad, for PhD, for Oracle and for Elastic, I needed to submit my CV, pass the interview process, or the academic process of how they evaluate student applications, and be judged and get a yes and no. These are 3 yeses, but behind them there are many no's, which I share. But basically, that is another thing that Charlotte mentioned. You will get many no's. That doesn't mean anything. You simply just forget about them and go to the next application that you want to do. Okay, you don't forget, you need to learn from them. Okay, but in any case, they don't need to dissuade you from moving on and do other applications. Right, so these are just some funny images about job hunting. Basically, it says that you will get a lot of uncertainty, a lot of luck, and a lot of unknowns through the journey. You might not know why you got a no. It's fine. You don't need to get too frustrated about it. You can ask why, but maybe they don't clearly answer to you, or you might get some tips, which is good. But in any case, as Charlotte said, it's not a clear process. There can be mistakes, so a no might not mean that you're bad, but it's simply it was not a fit. This is in general the timeline that I will talk to you about, how the job hunting process looks like. First of all, you need to write your CV. You need to have your CV ready. Then you need to do some job searching around career websites, to colleagues and friends, and track which are the jobs that you want to apply to, and apply to them, and keep applying to as many as you apply. There's no limit. Then you will get into contact with recruiters. You will get back interview proposals. With them and talking with them, you need to do your schedule. That means that you will get you need to know how many interviews are involved in each of your job application, when to do them. You need to discuss with them when to schedule them. Ideally, you want to schedule them close together. You don't want to, like, if you're out there to get the best job long term, right? You probably are not there to just go and do one job interview, and if you get it, you do hooray and get the job. Maybe if you have your dream job specifically maybe it's in your mind, yes. But in general, you go out and then you evaluate many job positions and many companies, and you pick what is best for you after the interview process. Because you might have a different idea in the beginning and another idea at the end. You try to schedule them together. That also gives you the chance to prepare once for all of them. In general, software development interviews also involve some testing, including coding testing, live coding testing with the interviewers. So that means that you need to prepare for that. You need to do some exercises, or you could also try an interview if you don't care that much about getting another job. to exercise through that process. So you might get rejected, but you get the experience of how the interview process looks like and how and do exercise through that. You also need to prepare equipment, try to have an isolated room. Interviews happen not only on site, but also remotely. So try to get your equipment up and running, an isolated room, no disturbances, a camera, your laptop, and be ready to take the interview. I will also recommend a specific book. It's not at all later in the slide. It's my recommendation. There are many resources out there to prepare for the technical interviews. I just found it to be the most concise resource. Then you will do the interviews as you have scheduled them. You will have a lot of hits and misses. It's fine. You will track them. And ultimately, and hopefully, you will get at least one offer. The ideal situation is to have multiple, of course, offers. The bad situation is to have no offers. It's okay. You continue on and you do more applications and more interviews. If you fail, in general, you can reapply to the same company. It's fine, usually after a year, just so for some time to have passed. And if you have offers, then you need to choose one of them. You need to haggle as well, meaning that you need to discuss with the recruiters the offer itself, the salary, the compensation, the perks. And through comparing the offers, you will need to accept one of them. As soon as you accept one, there might be some background checks. So what you have said is true. You might need to relocate if you get it at another city or country, and you need to start it. That's it. So let's try to get into each of these steps in more details. The first and probably the most important thing to get job interviews is to prepare your CV. You can write your own PDF, or you can use a template or a builder. There is, for example, the Europass, which is something that the European I'm not sure Union probably has recommends, but it's not necessary. What you need to do is write ideally a paragraph at the top about the summary of you, like what you have done and what are you looking for. For example, right? And these are not strict guidelines. Well, I'm looking for a backend position. I'm looking for to be an independent contributor or a manager, etc. Use a professional email address, ideally. Again, these are not strict requirements. First, list your work experience in reverse with dates and duration. Afterwards, your education, unless you're still in academia and you don't have experience, or you're looking for a PhD or something in academia, you list the education first. And then you, for each of your positions, you also mention what you did there and outcomes. So you need to do some bullet points ideally, or make some bold text about how you contributed to the company or to the research. Action verbs like led or increased the performance, for example, or decreased the cost of something by 50% or triple in 2 years are very good in general. So try to also, while you're working at a job, track this as well. So that you enrich your CV along the way. Use simple fonts and structure for potential automatic scans. So not all companies read manually the CVs. There are also companies that use automated software. So try to keep it simple so that it can read them. Spell out acronyms, ideally, unless they're very famous or popular. Not everybody knows them. Highlight awards and achievements as well. Extracurricular stuff that basically make you stand out from the rest of the crowd, and include both tech hard skills like languages, frameworks you've used and whatnot, but also soft skills like if you've led a project or if you've collaborated with a bunch of people. Things like that to contribute to the cultural fit that Charlotte was also mentioning. Translate tech language to plain language, because apart from the hiring, the technical people, recruiters and hiring managers are also reading your CV, and they're not necessarily adept in all the tech language that you might have there. These are actually some resources that I've taken these tips from for the resume. Just as an example, and I'm not saying this is the guideline, this is my CV, and it's actually quite cramped. It has a lot of text, so don't imagine that you need so much text. I want to show you the basic stuff that might be. First of all, at the top, I've mentioned some personal details. You might skip them. Some of them might be important. For example, citizenship might be important if you're applying abroad, for example. You might be applying to the US. You might not get an application because you're outside the US. It's fine, because there is a lot of process to get a visa in the US. So companies might not be willing to pay for an overseas person to just come into the US, for example, right? In the EU, you're more, if you're Greek, you're more free to move around, for example. What else? Contact details, of course, your email and phone number, your objective, which could be just 2 sentences, then your work experience. So as you see, I have the dates in bullet, involved the titles of the positions, then the companies, and some details about what I did, the more core contributions at these job positions. Then the education. You could mention your degree. It's optional. You could, but you could not. It's not like the most important thing. Then you can mention skills, languages, and frameworks, and whatnot. Then you can, if you have, and this would be good if you have, of course, open source contributions. I forgot to mention that, as Charlotte mentioned, you should keep it brief, maximum 2 pages. This is too much text just to say, but I've made it in a way, and another reason that I showed you, that you can scan it in 10 to 20 seconds as a recruiter, because the balls and the dates are what they will scan for. They will not read probably the simple text, or something like that. They will read the bold, they will see, is it a match or not, and then they have all the information there if they want to spend another 10 minutes to read all of the details. Published work if there is, or patents and whatnot. Awards and distinctions, if you have any, it could be from inside the job, like Best Employee of the Year, for example, or whatever, right? Or top contributor. Extracurricular stuff, like I'm a member of the org team at Devstaff. That's also quite interesting and important for people. And personal and soft skills. Languages might be important if you're moving overseas, and competencies like soft skills for culture fit. Optionally, again, having a website might also make you stand out from the rest of the crowd. There are free hosting options available, so you can make a very simple one with your CV and your profile and some links. It makes it a bit fancier for recruiters, saying this person took the extra step. I just have a very outdated blog there that I was trying to keep up to date. And basically, my main thing is an about page that you can also download the CV and another summary of who I am and the background. And some social media, if you want to share, again, totally optional. LinkedIn might be nice to have. Now, after getting your CV ready, you need to do some job searching. You can, first of all, decide what kind of job you want. You can go to industry, you can go to academia, what kind of role you want, manager, developer, what kind of salary expectations you might have, and then try to search around. So you can search directly at the companies that you know and you would like to work for. I have, as an example, how a job position looks from my current company's website. Usually every job position explains what they need and what required skills or skills that they wish for to have. An important thing about that when reading job descriptions, don't get dissuaded if you don't have a skill. Like, okay, don't apply if you don't have anything that they require, but if you're missing 1 or 2 or 3 skills, it's fine. You can still apply. They will ignore you if they have better fits, but they might not as well. Because depending on how many candidates they have, they might be more amenable, let's say, to train you, right? Like if they're searching for a role for a year, they might say, okay, let's get this person, they're good. We can train them in 6 months and we can get up to speed, something like that. So just apply. Doesn't matter if they ignore you. You just not get a no or nothing. You can search at platforms like LinkedIn, Carriera, or our Devstaff as well. We have channels there. And the best by far is to be referred by friends and colleagues at other companies. This kind of gets you a speed ticket to get to a recruiter faster and pay attention to your CV. Nothing more than that. Maybe also a good word in, but you will still probably pass through the whole interview process. Eligibility is also, if you're applying outside of Greece, might also be something to care for. As I mentioned, you might not be eligible to work immediately at other countries, so you might need to pay attention to that, whether you need a visa or anything like that. If in doubt, I would say apply. If you're unsure and you're saying, should I apply to this one or not? Apply and you will deal with it later. You don't need to remove an opportunity. You can judge the opportunities and compare them later. Some applicants nowadays also use AI to apply to many jobs. That happens. I don't know how it works. I've read it around, but they do that. It would be interesting if somebody does that. Share with us how it's done. You might also write a customized cover letter for a specific job application. It's good. It's also optional. Or you can adapt your CV for each job application, like the top case.
How does the cover letter work? Do you send it together with the application, separately?
Usually together, like in the platforms that I use, usually they have a field also option for an optional cover letter. If not, I'm guessing you can send it somehow, I don't know, wherever you do the application, probably you can upload something more and you can upload the cover letter. Yes, and in some cases, the job positions also have the compensation details. Right, and then you need to schedule them. Hopefully, after doing a gazillion, 1 million, let's say, job applications, you will unfortunately just get 100 recruiters back. So a very small percentage, I mean. In any case, you should follow up with them, talk with them, meet with the recruiters, learn about the company. Usually, they will talk to you or they will have a 20 minutes slot with you just to get to know you, and you get to know the company as well. You will inform them if you're also through other pipelines and with other companies, and at which stage you are with them. If you have any deadlines as well, because imagine that you might be job hunting for a month or two, you might get into one job interview in the first month, in another the second month. Recruiters also need or should know where you are in your job hunting journey. Understand how the interview process is. Maybe it's one interview, maybe it's four. Like you, for example. Like it has an online puzzle that you need to do asynchronously at home within an hour. They might have a coding interview. Usually there is one. Or a personal or behavior, or one with a hiring manager at the end. Like how they do it so that you can schedule them and you can expect them. And then schedule them, ideally within the same period. So you should use your calendar or spreadsheets as your friends for that. And reschedule if possible, but state beforehand. So do not attempt to just not show up. Tell them that you cannot make it, or I'm not interested anymore, or whatever. Just keep a good relationship with people. Preparation. So this is basically the book that I was reading, or I'm still reading, if I ever need to change a job. It might be a bit outdated to the era of AI and whatnot. I'm not sure if there's a new edition, but in general, it's a concise book that has a lot of the stuff that you might come up at the interviews. For example, it has a revision. It has actual text that you read, a revision of basic programming skills like data structures, time and space complexity, etc., like using lists, math, trees, and whatnot. It has a lot of exercises at each section. You read them, and you can do a few of them. Get into the mentality of each of the exercises. You can get exercise, of course, from other platforms. LeetCode also was a popular platform back when I was interviewing. Probably it still is. It has also design questions. So apart from coding questions, there might be more free-form questions like, we have this problem in our team. How would you design a solution for that? And people are usually then trying to see whether you know your data structures, or you know why you would use this one and not the other one, or just see your thought process of how you design and solve things. Behavioral questions, for example, what was your most difficult or rewarding experience, conflicts that you might have had in previous jobs and how you solved them or navigated them, teamwork, etc. In general, gets you into the mentality for interviewing. The above, just to say, is based on my personal experience, which is more backend. just to say. So you're not seeing a lot of user interface stuff here, but probably it's similar also for whoever knows JavaScript, React, or whatever, just the skills get rotated. You could, so this is like a new thing, whether you use vibe coding in interviews or not, the recruiters will tell you. Some companies accept it, some companies not. So you should be prepared and not try it without having it asked before. In any case, even if you use AI to code in a coding interview, you need to know what it's outputting and explaining it and be able to edit it if the interviewers ask for it. Rehearse with a colleague on the whiteboard is also very good before interviewing, and in general, be vocal, explain, and engage with the interviewer. Some coding interviewing tips, especially for the interviewing that has the coding part. First, before you go into solving anything, discuss the problem, any assumptions, and clarify details with the interviewer as well. Start with a small example and a naive solution before trying more complicated stuff. Discuss that and whether you can improve on a naive solution. Usually, but not always, there might be more than one solution. That's why there is typically the simple one, maybe a more elaborate one, a better one. Agree on the design and algorithm before you actually start coding, so that you don't have the anxiety of where am I, which functions should I write and whatnot. You should deal with that before starting coding, and discuss also like the complexity of what they want you to code. So whether they want you to code just the basic solution, or do they want you to handle corner cases? Corner cases might be, I don't know, out of memory situations, negative numbers, things that are not fitting in the standard problem that they are presenting. How you treat errors or misuses and stuff like that. After dealing with that, you start coding and you explain to the interviewer what you're doing as you're doing it. The interviewers are there to also guide you around. If they see you that you're stuck or you're going to a different direction, they will tell you it's fine. You don't get stressed about it. You hear them and you do what they say. Then at the end, it would be good to also do some manual testing or debugging with your examples, discuss if more optimizations are needed, and in general, keep the interaction alive. Don't give up, even if you cannot find a solution. They will appreciate that you try as well. And you never know, maybe what you did was actually more than what other people did. You will only discover that at the end. That's it. Then there might be, as I said, other type of questions. There might be design questions without coding. Again, ask for clarifications, design on the whiteboard. They might ask you to do a UML diagram or design this component and the data paths, like how they exchange data, how this REST API looks like, things like that. Think about different data structures and trade-offs. Trade-offs is a keyword to remember in all of the interviews. In general, they're looking also for your judgment, if I can say it like that, in your solutions, like why you chose something. You might go ahead and use, I don't know, a tree. Why did you use a tree? You didn't use something else, a list or whatever. The behavioral questions might be another interview, maybe with a hiring manager or whatever, where you also talk about experience and cultural fit. In general, I would say take a minute to think before answering a question. It's fine. Be honest and don't ramble too much. If you see yourself talking for 5 minutes straight, that's probably a time to stop and ask if you're okay with going more on whatever you were talking about. An interesting, from my personal again experience, system that I found was Amazon's STAR system, which stands for Situation, Task, Action, and Result, which is some keyword about preparing for interviews, trying from your experience, writing a few situations that might have been difficult or rewarding, positive and negatives, if you get asked for them, so that you're ready to explain for them. Why? In such interviews, typically they ask you about your personal experience with conflicts or rewards or things like that. It might be a bit difficult at that point to remember, so it would be good to prepare also for that. Like, take your time at home and think about, if you get asked something like that, what you would talk. And as Charlotte said, be also the interviewer for the company. ask questions. You want to see if the company or the position is a good fit for you, and whether you will be happy in it. And ask about their product, about the vision, the strategy, the technical challenges. Ask about the place, the work and lifestyle, how the everyday looks like, what you will expect to do in that role. I write here some questions that just came up at the spot, but they're not limited to that. Just ask questions. Whatever comes to mind is good, and you can even prepare. Like if you before the interview, think about it. Like go to their website about the role, and think about a few questions. Now, assuming you did well, you will get hopefully at least one offer. Offers typically consist of either one or more of these: the base salary, maybe stock options if it's a startup, or restricted stock units if it's a public company, probably, and or sign-off bonus, like a one-time bonus, maybe a relocation package if you're moving away, that's another thing. Things like pension or health perks, paid time off, like how many days of vacation you have. Now, all of these things, you will get to know more about them at this stage, probably, rather than the beginning, unfortunately. At the beginning, they probably can give you a range and what happens typically. But at this stage, after you get an acceptance and an offer, they're more usually willing to negotiate and clear out any doubt. And also, basically, they're ready to negotiate. Basically, that's the thing that I wanted to say. So at this stage, don't get shy about discussing the compensation and anything related to this package. Having other offers is great because you can compare yourself. So you can request for more if needed. They could say no, they could say yes. So you never know until you ask. You can also search beforehand how much you might expect at the company. There are resources out there. Maybe not for all great companies, but at least for some. On Glassdoor or levels.fyi, or there are also surveys. I need to share this presentation. There are two links here, one for the Greek job market for developers, and another one for Europe or some European countries. In any case, search like what's the competition right there for other companies at this level and this job, so that you know. Consider the position level that they're offering you and the location differences. So you might get a different salary in Athens and another salary here, another salary in the United States. Also consider like the position level, like for your seniority. If it's your first job, probably you will have a low position. If you have like 10 years of experience, you would be expecting a higher level. The start time might be flexible as well. So the Greek market usually pressures you to go tomorrow, but it's fine to ask if you can start next month, or if you can start in a year. Ask. You will never know until you ask. And at least one round of adjustments are expected by recruiters. Saying yes immediately is probably not good for you. You can say it if you're totally happy about it, but you can try to get more out of it if possible. So don't be afraid to negotiate. They want you to be happy. Like after they tell you that you passed the interview, they also want to make you happy and keep you around and not keep you only for a month. So negotiate. And but that's it actually. So to conclude, the job hunting requires preparation and time. You need to build your good CV. You need to schedule your interview around the same time, ideally. And try to interview to also learn the process, even if you do not intend to change jobs. So I mentioned it once, but I wanted to mention it here as well. You don't really need to be out there to change jobs to do interviews. You can also just do an interview to learn or exercise for interviews. If you want to change jobs in a year, you can do an interview in a year. You can do an interview now, just to see how it works out, even if you reject it. Then prepare for live coding. This is a very important piece of the preparation. So with books, code examples, and rehearse. Be honest and ask questions. So that's why preparation is also important. Negotiate offers. I stress that because people are usually shy, unfortunately. So negotiate. It's expected. And make the most out of every conversation and getting to know people. Connections are also keys for future or potential jobs. That's it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions.
What are your thoughts on preparing specific CVs for specific roles or positions? So, let's say, for example, I'm looking for a buddy position, but I'm also looking for a manager position. Do you think it's a good idea? Have you done it yourself?
It's a good idea in my mind. No, I haven't done it. I have adapted some cover letters and maybe the objective of my CV, but not the whole CV. But I think it's a totally good idea because you might also, I don't find that bad, you might also be unsure whether you want to do an independent contributor job at one company or a manager at a maybe smaller company, right? So it's not unreasonable, right? Like it's a different story to, I don't know, try to be a lead tech engineer at a startup company that's just starting. You might have the experience, for example, and the expertise to do it. And another thing to apply for a manager, I don't know, at a very big company where probably you don't have yet the experience, not you personally, the things that so it's fine, I think, right? It depends on when you apply to.
Do you think it's a good idea to go through interviews if you already have a job?
Yes, that's the exercise bit, right? Especially if in your mind you're thinking that maybe in a year or so you might want to move on, right? People also tend to move every, I don't know, 5 or whatever years just to gain more experience or upgrade their compensation level. It's also easier to get better compensation when you change jobs rather than inside the same job for a lot of years. So I think it's good to prepare even if you don't want to take it, yes.
It's not a red flag for the interviewer.
It is, yes. They will reject you, but it's fine, right?
No, it's a red flag that you're looking for a job even if you already have one.
No, I don't think so. Like, if they make you a nice offer, maybe you will say yes, right? You never know, right? Like you're doing that, and maybe you get enticed to do it. You never know, I think. And you should, in that sense, you should not say I'm here just to exercise, right? You should show interest that you will consider the thing. The thing. Be honest. I would say also be honest that I'm doing this while I'm having a job and I'm not having a strong interest now to change jobs, but I found your company interesting and I want to try this out. If you convince me and get me a good offer, I might consider actually accepting. That's totally honest, and for them they might say yes or no. That's also fine, up to them. But you're honest, and I think it's totally acceptable. I've done it actually for like when I was interviewing at some point, I was not sure whether I wanted to go with a startup or a big company. I applied to both, and I was honest for startups that I'm not sure yet. Like I'm not sure whether I want to take a risk at a company that might, I don't know, disappear in a couple of years, but I might have stronger returns if it succeeds and it becomes public. So I'm not sure yet. And they were actually helping me out because they were telling me how it works out, at which, I don't know, a round of how they say, of investing they are, and things like that.
Now, more and more jobs, entry-level jobs, are being automatically done by AI. So there's a very strong problem with the newbies that want to enter
Market.
the market, and they cannot develop experience.
Yes.
So any thoughts on that, and how they can actually get into the market without, if they're not able to compete with AI that does everything for free automatically?
Very good question, which I'm honest, I don't have expertise of. Probably would be a good question for Charlotte because he's from the recruitment side. I haven't experienced that, so I don't have like a personal experience to ask you. So I can just say from my best of judgment how I would do it if I imagine I was in this position. So first of all, I would try to get trained. Like I would try to learn coding myself, right? Like either through the university or take a course or a book or whatever. And then I would actually try to use AI, right? Like you can use AI to code even if you don't know how to code, right? So try it out, right? Try to use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever and tell it, I want to build a website to do that. It builds you that, and then you go into the result and you try to understand it. Like, why? What is this file? What is that file? What is this code? That's also a good way to learn, right? And then you also understand how people use AI to do that, right? Like one of the things that is, as Charlotte said, also coming to the existing people like us, is using AI to do the job, right? Like this gives you now a competitive advantage and maybe a die or live situation about whether you can use AI to be faster and produce work and results. So I would say just go out and use it and try to understand why it did things. So because you also need to know the behind the scenes. Yes.
I think it's always a good idea to build a portfolio, something to showcase, I don't know, an app or a website that you build, even with AI, and show that you have the skills to do it and explain what you did, etc. So
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, good idea. Like the website I showed you could also showcase apps or something that you built just for fun.
Open source as well.
Or open source app. Yeah, good ideas. Yes, please.
What are you thinking about live coding interviews as a process of evaluating candidates at the company? Since now, since right now live coding is a real thing, and AI is taking over.
Yes.
What do you think? Because the best case is the best way to
Probably not. It's what we say, like for democracy, it's probably the worst. It's the best choice that we have out of very, very bad choices. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Again, it would be a better question for the recruiters. I would say it's not going away very soon, probably at least. They want to see somehow your skills for coding, at least for now. Whether that transforms into the future, though, about how you use AI to produce the result is to be seen. Maybe you see this transformed into live vibe coding, maybe, right? But still, I think they will want to see somehow how you do things to get results. So I think that's why they came up with the live coding to be fast, and it's a process that gets, unfortunately, how do we say, true positives, but also false negatives, right? So in that sense, you can be a very good programmer, but unfortunately you were anxious at that time, you did not think about it at the time, and that's why I also mentioned when you get a no, don't get frustrated, just go on.
So most of the time they ask a common question that is, what are your plans for the future, or for 3 years or 5-year plan? But what if that plan doesn't include them? They're not included in that future. So you said be honest about maybe everything. I don't
Maybe
know.
everything good, good
So
point.
what would be your approach in answering that?
Right. Tricky, I would say. Tricky. First of all, tricky from my side, because if I want to do a temporary job, for example, I'm not sure I would choose it myself. But if it's like needed or necessary as a stepping stone or whatever, probably I would be a bit more diplomatic. I wouldn't say I will leave in a bit. No, probably not. It is unfair, to tell you the truth, and it's probably not making a good popularity for you, I would say, because everything is interconnected in the end, right? People talk, it's not. But if I wanted to do that, I would be probably a bit diplomatic. I wouldn't, try to to lie and say I imagine myself being here and doing been upgrading, having a team and living the dream here. But I would also not say that I'm leaving next month or year, probably. I would maybe be honest in the sense that I want to try this out. I feel like this is an interesting company for me for now. I want to try it out for the next year and hopefully stay around as long as things are continuing developing and I'm seeing myself developing. Something like that. Thank you.